The financials of the league are not easily accessible. Like, we're not all, I'm certainly not, like, all these journalists are not sitting on documents that we don't want to, it's like, and think about it. We get Adam and Kathy like twice a year at these press conferences. And when when you ask them questions about that, they're ready to deflect. They're ready to talk around these subjects. So the transparency about the financial situation, the W is in.
That reaction alone tells you everything about where the WNBA stands right now. This is not about small contract issues or minor scheduling problems. The league is seeing historic growth while at the same time facing a serious crisis about its future. Time is running out, even if no one wants to admit it. This moment matters because the WNBA just had the biggest season in its history. Caitlin Clark's rookie year helped bring 20 million viewers to the Iowa vs. South Carolina championship game. Ratings surged, and brands finally started investing real money. This should have been a celebration, the point where everything came together. Instead, the league is now facing a possible work stoppage. More than 100 players are free agents who do not know when they can sign contracts. 2 new expansion teams are supposed to join, but there are no clear rules for the expansion draft. On top of that, the season schedule has already been released even though there is a real chance the season could be delayed or not happen at all.
And travel issues, but where they're currently playing, which we know is in Unrivaled, and what their game schedule's like, what their training schedule is like. Like Elizabeth Williams is in Turkey, which is obviously completely different.
Right. Yeah.
That's traveling across to the world. But again, like their commitments to where they're playing now, I don't want to say by any means supersede these negotiations, but there's a reality.
But
now watch how the tone changes when the conversation turns to the actual negotiations. What you are seeing is not optimism. It is concern hidden behind professionalism. At that Monday meeting in New York, the WNBA Players Association came fully prepared to negotiate. They brought clear proposals, had already passed a strong strike authorization vote, and showed up with key union leaders like Nneka Ogwumike and Breanna Stewart. Kelsey Plum and Aya Wilson were even rushing from Miami to attend, posting about it on social media nearly a day before the meeting. The league, however, arrived with no counterproposal at all. There was no written response to the players' demands and no real numbers on the table, only a general statement about wanting to talk and get on the same page. That is not a real negotiation. It looks more like a deliberate tactic to delay the process and put pressure on the players by running out the clock. This is where things get complicated, and this is why covering the WNBA requires understanding layers that do not exist in men's sports. The conflict of interest being discussed involves Unrivaled, the 3-on-3 league founded by Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier. That league pays players 6-figure salaries to compete during the WNBA offseason. The problem is that Stewart and Collier are also 2 of the 3 most vocal leaders in the current CBA negotiations. The third is Nneka Ogwumike. Stewart could not attend the Monday meeting in person because she was in Miami for Unrivaled. Collier and Kelsey Plum were also trying to fly in from Miami due to Unrivaled commitments, but travel issues prevented them from making it. As a result, the leaders of the Players' Union were unable to attend the most important CBA negotiation meeting in league history because they were contractually required to be at a different basketball league that they own. This is not a criticism of their motives, but an observation of a structural problem that has never existed in professional sports before. The WNBA has never required exclusivity. From the beginning in 1997, league leadership allowed players to compete overseas in the offseason as part of the deal. Now, that long-standing approach is creating a conflict that is directly affecting the most important negotiations the league has ever faced.
In it at all. Like that wasn't, and I'm the same age as a lot of these players, so that's obviously just my bubble. But now, not only has that mentality, like for a lot of people changed, but the investment at the collegiate level in terms of coaching and all of these spaces has evolved, which makes the product better and then raises the value, because you can't just invest in something because it's the right thing to do. Like, it has to be a good business decision.
Right.
And I think that's what's changed. And that's why I believe this won't be, just a blip. But I do think there is legitimate.
And that is the real source of the tension, not just about Unrivaled, but about how the WNBA was built from the very start. Listen closely to what is being said. The league was created as a summer product meant to fill empty NBA arenas. It was a business move presented as progress, and that original decision is now affecting every major negotiation. When you look at the practical impact, the difference is clear. NBA players get a full summer to prepare for their rookie seasons with summer league, training camps, and development time. WNBA players often have only about 2 weeks between the national championship game and the start of training camp, forcing them to jump straight from college into professional basketball. The WNBA also plays during the summer, when fans are not naturally focused on basketball. It competes with baseball, football preparation, and families going on vacation. The league placed itself in the toughest media window possible and called it a strategy. Now, 28 years later, the WNBA is trying to fix these foundational issues while also taking advantage of historic growth. The players are pushing for major, transformational change, while the league is focused on sustainability and moving carefully. Both sides are standing firm because both have real and valid concerns.
Going to turn, and the same fans that are watching the NBA are also going to be watching the WNBA. And like, this is going to be normal, the way that we cover the game. If we're breaking down a player's game and we say that they have a weakness here, or they have a weakness on defense, or they, have trouble shooting from the outside, or you can fade off of this player and, give them whatever it is, that's normal sports discourse. And I feel like it's the same with the fans as well. Like, there has to be, Candace has talked about it, that there's a little bit of a sensitivity to the women's game because it has been like made fun of, and it's like, oh, they can't do this. And it's a lot of people who don't watch the game, right? So there's a sensitivity in protecting it, but also at the same time, fans need to be able to boo at games and not be called names.
This is the part that keeps getting lost in all the CBA drama. The actual product on the court has real problems that are not being properly addressed because the focus is almost entirely on money. She is right to highlight officiating, because it has been an issue for years, but it took Caitlin Clark's arrival for people to really pay attention. If you go back and watch Candace Parker's rookie season, she was hit hard multiple times with no calls. Cheryl Swoops had one of the most famous officiating blow-ups in league history over missed calls. Diana Taurasi has been speaking out about overly physical play for nearly 2 decades. None of this is new. What is new is that millions of fans are now watching and noticing these issues. The most serious problem is landing space violations. A foul like that can end a player's career. This is not about being tough or physical. It is about basic player safety. Yet this season there were multiple clear landing space fouls that were not called, not reviewed, and not upgraded to flagrant fouls. There were also incidents where players were knocked to the floor or hit during dead ball situations. These were not basketball plays and should have resulted in immediate ejections. The inconsistency in how these fouls are handled is hurting the quality and credibility of the game. The deeper issue is that the WNBA does not pay officials enough to attract and keep top-level referees. The referee pool is small, training varies, and standards are not applied consistently. Until the league treats officiating as a serious priority and invests real money into improving it, these problems will continue no matter how much attention or growth the league experiences.
In their negotiation strategy of putting pressure on the players to sign something knowing the season is coming up and they're going to be impacted if it's delayed. And so there's strategy behind all of this. And negotiations, I mean, I was part of a union in Chicago. Like, you have to, both sides are seeking what's best for them. That's the reality. Like, and a coach said this to me once about a trade. He's like, the best trades are ones where both teams win, although that's rarely the case. Yeah. And it's similar with these negotiations. It's like both sides say, can say, oh, it's about.
Now we come to the crisis that is not being talked about nearly enough. Free agency, the expansion draft, and the basic process of building rosters for next season are all in chaos, and what teams actually know right now is almost nothing. Under normal conditions, more than 100 players would already be moving through free agency. WNBA free agency is usually a quick 2-week period in mid-January where players sign fast, teams fill their rosters, and everyone moves forward. But these are not normal conditions. First, there is no CBA in place, which means no one knows what the salary cap will be, what maximum contracts will look like, or how restricted free agency and core designations will work. Teams cannot make real offers because they do not know what they are allowed to offer. Second, there are no rules for the expansion draft. Portland and Toronto are joining the league and need to build rosters, but the league has not said how many players existing teams will be allowed to protect. Whether that number is 4 or 5 makes a huge difference in how teams plan their futures. Third, the season schedule has been released for May, but many executives believe the season will be delayed. If a new CBA is not finalized by early February, there simply will not be enough time to complete free agency, run the expansion draft, and properly prepare for the season. The timeline does not add up.
Number of players that, again, want to sign a contract today and those that don't. And if there was that huge divide, the vote on the, strike authorization wouldn't have been so largely in favor. So I think, again, there's nuance to that conversation of fracturing. And if there was actually a heavy fracture, I think we would have seen a difference in that vote. And I also think, again, having conversations.
And that is the real fear behind all of this. There is a growing concern that all the momentum, the growth, and the wave of new fans who found the WNBA through Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and the 2024 rookie class could disappear if there is no season, if the season starts late, or if it begins with replacement players because of a strike. Public opinion is already starting to shift. At first, fans were strongly on the players' side, believing they deserved higher pay and that the growth of the league was real. But as negotiations drag on, the language becomes harsher, and the possibility of a work stoppage feels more real. Fans are becoming frustrated. Some of this comes from the players' communication, where phrases like "slap in the face" resonate with core supporters but push away casual fans who lack the full context. Some of it comes from the league choosing to stay publicly silent while working behind the scenes, which leaves room for narratives to fill the gap. More than anything, though, it is exhaustion. Fans simply want to watch basketball. They do not want to take sides in a labor dispute or break down revenue-sharing models and contract rules. They just want to know whether there will be a season and when it will start.
Rachel.
Thank you.
From a media point of view, this whole situation is incredibly frustrating. The WNBA has never been more popular, and the pieces needed to support a major professional sports league are finally coming together. There are national TV deals, big corporate sponsors, sold-out arenas, and real star power that reaches beyond basketball. Yet the league is still being held back by decisions made 28 years ago. The summer schedule, the lack of exclusivity, the revenue-sharing system that splits money between the NBA, WNBA teams, and WNBA LLC, the absence of a true developmental league, and small roster sizes that force teams to rely on hardship contracts when injuries hit are all long-term structural problems. These are not issues that can be fixed in one CBA negotiation. They require years of planning and serious investment. The problem is that players do not have years. Their careers might last 10 years if they are lucky. They are watching the league explode in popularity while the maximum salary is around $1 million and many still have to play overseas to earn a real living. The league's argument is that it must protect long-term stability. It does not want to promise salaries it cannot afford if this growth turns out to be temporary. From a business standpoint, that is reasonable. But it also becomes an easy excuse to delay hard choices. The league has been saying wait and see for nearly 3 decades. At some point, you have to believe in your own product, invest in your stars, protect your players, and pay them what they are worth. You also have to do it before players leave for other leagues that are willing to pay, whether that is unrivaled, major international leagues, or new projects that did not exist just a few years ago. The WNBA is no longer competing only with itself. If it does not adapt, it risks losing the players who created this momentum in the first place. The expansion draft situation shows just how bad things are. Teams are expected to protect players without knowing the rules. Free agents are supposed to negotiate contracts without knowing the salary structure. Coaches are planning for next season without knowing who will be on their rosters. All of this is happening while the league releases a schedule as if everything is normal. It is not normal. It is chaos dressed up as business as usual. The longer this continues, the more damage it does to everyone's credibility. The players start to look unreasonable for rejecting offers that sound generous on the surface. The league looks unprepared for failing to present a clear counterproposal. The media looks biased for taking sides. Meanwhile, fans just want to know whether they should buy tickets. The question no one wants to answer is what happens if there is no season. What happens if the players strike and the league tries to use replacement players? What happens if this moment, when women's basketball finally broke through to the mainstream, collapses because both sides could not agree on how to split the money? Other leagues have survived lockouts and strikes, but they had decades of deep-rooted fan support. The WNBA is still building that foundation. Losing even one season could set the league back years. It could waste the Caitlin Clark effect and prove skeptics right who never believed women's professional basketball could succeed. That is why this negotiation matters so much. It is not just about money. It is about whether the WNBA can seize this moment or look back years from now and realize it missed its best chance to become a true major sports league. The players need to understand that long-term stability matters and that destroying the league to make a point helps no one. The league needs to understand that this is the moment to invest, not to play it safe. And both sides need to remember that every day without a deal costs interest and momentum. In the end, this is not really about contracts or revenue sharing. It is about whether women's professional basketball can truly thrive in the United States. Right now, the people who should be building that future together are arguing over how to divide a pie that may disappear if they do not get this right.